It is 6 o'clock on Wednesday, August 12th, 2026, and we are in order for the first meeting of the School Improvement Committee. Let the roll show that every committee member is here, and Marissa, you will take attendance for others, please. Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Discussion. All those in favor? We have our agenda. Minutes. Motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Discussion, corrections, omissions. All those in favor, please say aye. We have our minutes. Public participation. Members of the public and staff may bring to the committee's attention information, ideas, or matters of concern related to all the duties and responsibilities of this committee. This committee will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. The time for individual remarks will be apportioned according to the number of speakers and will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker unless extended by the chair. Marissa, we have public participation? No public participation? Okay, thank you. Discussion and next steps. Summer school report, which we have.
No one online? Speakers?
No one's on. Okay, summer school report, please.
Good evening, everybody. We had a very successful summer school program this year. And to tell us a little bit more about it, we've got some members of our OTL down at the end that would like to explain how the summer school went.
Good evening. We're so happy to be here. We had a very successful summer school, and we'll take you through just some of the information. I don't know if we have the slide deck up to show.
Okay, we have our microphones on there. Are they working? Are you close enough to them?
How's that?
We'll have trouble sometimes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we held our summer school program at Torrington School. And this year we held a 3-week program because the school year went so late. We wanted to give families and kids a little bit of time in between the end of the school year and the beginning of summer learning. And our program ran from July 13th to July 31st from 9 to 12. We went Monday through Friday, which was also a change to accommodate 15 days of instruction. So we were able to get a very similar amount of time in that a little ever so slightly compressed session. Let me give you a little bit of our program overview, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. So our elementary and intermediate students received teacher-led instruction. They received lessons in phonics and reading, in comprehension, in mathematics, and they utilized core district resources. For our middle school, our 7th and 8th graders received in-person instruction, and we had a STEM and a humanities grouping. So students had classes in both math, science, English, and social studies to support any of their areas of need. In high school, again, for credit recovery, our students did an online learning platform program called Edmentum, which provided a number of more unique courses than our previous software that we were able to use. But there were teachers for each of the content areas available to support students as they were working through their credit recovery. We also had a very robust special education extended school year program. And those students who meet eligibility are able to participate. They learn academic and social skills. And again, another rather robust attending for our English language learners. For our newcomers, new to the country, they get a lovely immersion experience in oral language, in reading, and it's really quite a positive program. Next slide, please. Again, this just reiterates K through 6. Focused on math and reading, 7, 8, core content, 9, 12, guided online learning. And for our next slide, you'll see our numbers of attendees. We had 79 students, kindergarten through 3rd grade, 49 grades 4 through 6, 107 7th and 8th graders, 105 9 through 12, and 37 English learner newcomers. And our progress was rather robust. 99% of middle school students successfully completed the program. 93% of high school participants earned credit. We had 5 seniors who were able to graduate after participating in summer learning, and 144.5 credits were awarded. We did have 10 high school students dismissed, and those reasons ranged from exceeding the absences or non-attendance. And we did have some students, again, who were living out of district, and were not able to participate. Our EL student numbers, for our youngest ones, we had 20 kids K through 5. We had 10 middle school learners and 7 high school learners. Our extended school year is really a very exclusive program, supports student need based on their IEPs. Specific criteria are used to ensure that the students who are eligible are receiving the programming that best suits their needs. And we had 70 students in that program this year, pre-K through Torrington Transition Academy, so older students. And what's lovely is there is some interaction too, and so they're really a bright spot in our summer learning program. And I will say, with all of these moving parts, a shout out to our All-Star Busing Company. They were absolutely fantastic this summer. It ran like a well-oiled machine, and there's a very complex array of transportation needs through summer learning for all of these different programs, and they were outstanding. And that is the summary report.
Thank you. Questions, committee first. No questions. Anyone else? Round.
I said they're good results.
Yeah. Well, if there are no questions, I guess it's just thank you. And we'll move on. Thank you.
I'll just say one thing. Like the kid,
Okay, I should have said comments.
I know. The kids need what you're doing. We haven't had this in a long time. And having family members who are passed right through, my nephews and nieces, this is going to make a huge difference to the kids when they get out of here. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Item B, 26-27 school visit and report schedule. This is just basically to set up our calendar for the upcoming year, which I guess we can turn to the future meeting section for that. Mrs. Conway already caught one mistake, the January meeting for TMS also listed after it LMC, and it won't be in the library media center. It will be here if we approve this. But what the schedule is basically last year's schedule, just put into this year's dates. Individual reports for Torringford and Southwest. I suppose that's something we could talk about, but otherwise it's pretty much the same. Comments? We're set to do it again. Go from building to building with the policy committee on board for that, going from building to building as we have. Get a chance to see the buildings and maybe get a chance to make it more convenient for people if they live in the neighborhoods of the schools, if that's a factor. Wow.
I move we approve it as presented.
Anyone want to second that? Make it official? Gary to second. Discussion? All in favor? Okay, so we have our schedule for the year. This is exciting. I'm living in Mr. Putnam's shadow because he got 2 meetings in last week in half an hour. But it was marvelous. It was marvelous.
That won't happen with policy.
My, well, policy will make the evening long.
Sorry, Gary.
Last item on the agenda for discussion and next steps is September meeting. I'm going to propose not having a September meeting because I don't think there'll be any pressing meeting topics, any agenda items for that meeting. And I think that it might be a good chance for us to do 2 things. One will be to give the professional staff the chance to get to schools underway because the week leading up to that is the first week of school, and that's not a fun time when you're putting out fires or making decisions about things that you had to wait until now to make or whatever. So I am going to propose canceling that. I mean, the other reason being, of course, the policy committee is apt to go on a long time that night, and it will either give policy more time to meet, or the artificial intelligence committee will be meeting in September too. And I suppose if policy looks like it's going to be short, we could schedule artificial intelligence for that night, but that's unlikely. Anyway, discussion? Yes, no? No September meeting? We're all set? That's what's going to happen if we don't say anything.
I move we do not have a September meeting.
Okay, formalizing it. Anyone want to second that? Gary seconding it. All those in favor, please say aye. Okay, no September meeting. Thank you very much. And now, topics for future meetings.
Chair,
Yes, Mr. Knight.
I'd like an update on the Torrington Public Schools implementation of Aaron's Law.
Aaron's Law being what?
Aaron's Law being legislation that was passed in 2014 and became implemented in 2015. It's what the legislation does is it mandates that in public schools a K through 12 curriculum be implemented to alert students on how to be safe from sexual predecessors, sexual predators, excuse me, such as grooming.
Okay, so what we want to hear is where this appears in the curriculum and how it's handled and how it's responsive to this 2014 law?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Sounds reasonable. Anyone else? Topics for future meetings? We have several topics that are there, which if there's time. I would like maybe even though it's early in the year, we could have a community partner report if some community group is ready to jump in at that time. Those are always a good part of our meetings. Other than that, and without going around the table, does anyone have a comment for the good of the order? Kristen?
I'm really not on this committee. I'm the alternate, but I would like to see this meeting begin at 5:30 from now on. 6 o'clock is just late.
Okay, two things. First of all, alternate doesn't count. You're a member of the committee. We love you. We wouldn't dream of meeting without you.
Oh.
And your attendance is good too. Okay, so, right, because we wouldn't have a quorum if you weren't here many nights. Okay, 5:30 meeting time. Any particular thought behind that or not?
I think it's a great idea.
It's just 6 o'clock is just too late in my opinion. I know that the board, we didn't even really vote to have our regular board meetings start at 6. It was just kind of told to us. But I'd like to see at least these two subcommittee meetings start at 5:30 moving forward. If the other subcommittees want to do that as well, that's up to them based on their members and their schedules, but 4 of us seem to be fine to get here.
Okay, and Mr. Knight, you are on board with that
I am, yeah.
sound of it?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize
Fine with
Kristen
me,
wasn't finished.
and Gary, you're on, which means that the policy committee would move to 5:30 or after our meeting. Okay. So then we need to let the board chair know that we want to do that. And we didn't vote on that, Kristen?
We did not. It was just told to us.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
So we can announce that we're doing that. And if people scream at the whole board meeting in 2 weeks, then we'll have to talk about it, but otherwise we'll just do it, right?
Okay.
Sound good?
Good.
Okay, we'll try to get away with that.
For committees, we can do what we want.
Anyone else want to say anything? In which case, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:14. Okay.
roll call. We got Ms. Conway. We've got John. We got Bill. We got Ms. Sterling, and we got Mr. Lafreniere. Can I get a motion for the approval of the agenda? All those in favor? Can I get an approval of the minutes?
Second.
John, you can't hear? If you can use they can't hear you, John, when you're talking. All those in favor? Aye. Public participation. I've got something to read. I was asked to read by Ms. Gelomino. Oh, I'm sorry. Members of the public and staff may bring the committee's attention information, ideas, or matters of concern related to all duties and responsibilities of this committee. This committee will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. The time for individual remarks will be proportioned according to the number of speakers and will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker unless extended by the chair, which we probably won't do tonight. But who's first? Kaylee Blakesley.
My apologies. My name is Kaylee Blakesley. I live on Hodges Hill Road. I have 2 children in the Torrington Public Schools. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to advocate for my children, but also all of the children in Torrington. And thank you to the teachers and caring adults who are spending their summer preparing for the upcoming school year. Our children are excited to begin school, and your efforts are very much noticed. This board has repeatedly voiced concerns about Torrington Public School students' access to devices, screen time, AI, and repeatedly lamented the decline of physical fitness and participation in sports. All of these issues can immediately be addressed with one simple, basic, and affordable solution. Spoiler alert, a draconian device ban is not the solution. Recess is the solution. We don't need to ban or limit devices to reduce screen time. Recess reduces screen time. Unstructured free play cures unstructured screen use. You can't spell recess with AI. Here is your roadmap to success. Promote a less academic elementary school experience. Promote engagement in creative free play. Before me, I see a group of hardworking, dedicated people. If you put your mind to it, you can figure this out. I believe in you. Parents, if you don't want your child having a screen at school, talk to the classroom teacher. Request a paper copy of the assignment for your student. It's really that simple. You can do it. We may not yet have the budget to build a developmentally appropriate outdoor space for students at TIS, and we might never have the optimal facilities or equipment for all students in Torrington to learn. However, we can make sure they receive a developmentally appropriate education each and every day. I encourage you to trust the teachers to make decisions about the use of technology in their classrooms and to rethink your proposed ban on screens. I encourage the members of this board to use your position to promote policies and prioritize an agenda that includes improving school by increasing time spent accessing outdoor spaces, play-based learning for all students. And while I'm up here, a word about the proposed dress code. Please trust students to make clothing decisions for themselves and abandon this policy that polices students' bodies. Thank you for your time, attention, open hearts, and open minds.
Thank you. Ms. Mangan.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Mangan. I am a literacy interventionist at Vogel Wetmore, starting my 38th year as an educator in Torrington. I'm speaking this evening as the TEA president. First, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your flexibility with the meeting dates and switching the meeting. I would like to address the draft of the technology roadmap that is on the agenda this evening. As I'm sure you are all aware, Last Wednesday, the State Board of Education adopted a position statement and policy guidance on personal and purposeful technology use in Connecticut schools. The document states schools need a structured school-wide technology integration and usage protocol that provides thoughtful access to high-quality digital tools and integrates emerging technologies in ways that outline purposeful screen time, enhance instruction, foster responsible digital citizenship, and prepare students to succeed in an increasingly connected world. The state guidance also calls for meaningful input from educators, students, families, and school leaders. The people using these systems every day can help identify both the problems and the solutions. I respectfully request that the Board of Education follow the guidance of the state and include all relevant stakeholders in the development of a technology screen time policy for our district. On the timeline for the draft roadmap, it states February, March, April, review and refine policy with stakeholder input. Why not begin the process with stakeholder input instead of waiting until a policy is already written? Including a broad range of stakeholders in the process can help build trust and support for the policy while ensuring that diverse perspectives and experiences are considered. A collaborative approach can strengthen the quality of the policy, increase transparency and legitimacy, reduce potential resistance, and foster a sense of shared ownership. It can also support smoother and more effective implementation. More importantly, involving stakeholders in the development process allows us to create a policy with our school community rather than a policy that is simply done to our school community. I respectfully request that the board provide all stakeholders with a meaningful opportunity to participate in this important process. TEA is not opposed to the development of a policy. Our concern, which may have been perceived by some as opposition, is that we have not been included in the conversation or the development process. In July, TEA proposed a working group to allow for collaboration on this topic via the board chair, but we haven't received a response on this request. We believe we have valuable perspectives to contribute, particularly because our members are in the classrooms every day and have firsthand experience with the issues the policy may address. We respectfully request the opportunity to participate in the policy development process and to have a seat at the table alongside the other stakeholders. Additionally, the roadmap timeline, September 2026, includes the statement, build reduction in screen time limits into educator goal-setting process. Include the proposed policy screen time limits and policy guidelines as a benchmark. This statement establishes a predetermined evaluation expectation for all classroom teachers that is not reflected in our state-approved TVAL plan. Our plan states that educator growth goals focus on the educator's professional growth and development. High leverage goals are based on professional practice standards. They align to a strategic focus, portrait of a graduate, district goals, school improvement plan, etc. Each educator and their assigned evaluator must mutually agree on a professional growth goal. Mandating a specific focus for goals erodes mutual agreement between teacher and evaluator and creates a one-size-fits-all approach that is not in alignment with our plan. Another important point is the lack of PDEC involvement in this proposed change in practice. Any changes to the goal-setting directives must be reviewed and approved through the PDEC. If the district intends the statement to establish a new requirement for teacher evaluation, it would need to be discussed and mutually agreed upon by all members of the PDEC, and then the amendment to the plan would need to be submitted to the State Department of Ed for approval. Finally, reducing or eliminating screen time is neither an instructional goal nor a professional growth goal. High-quality instruction should be the focus of evaluation goals. The goals should focus on meaningful improvements in teaching and learning rather than simply reducing the use of a particular tool or set of tools. The roadmap itself identifies the larger instructional outcomes educators should consider focusing on for goals, including literacy and interpersonal communication, critical thinking and sustained attention, physical activity and hands-on learning, developmentally appropriate and play-based learning, direct human interaction, and collaborative discussion. Thank you for your time. And mentioning play-based learning, I shared with the superintendent, and we'd love to share with you the video that was produced by Ed Week of play-based learning in our kindergarten classroom. So I will share that. Thank you. Later, not now. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Happy summer for a few more weeks.
Good evening. My name is Erin Sullivan. I'm a teacher and department head at Torrington High School. I want to focus tonight on partnership, how we align our work around technology with state guidelines, how we work together within our own district, and specifically what that could mean for our high school. I think the guidance from the state board gives us an opportunity to reconsider not the goal of this work, but how we get there. I agree with the goal of having classrooms that are cognitively engaged, discussion-based, collaborative, and not dependent on passive screen use. The question is not whether we should encourage these practices. The question is how we continue to strengthen them successfully. This is where I turn to the new guidance from the State Board of Education. The state's guidance is built around partnership. It calls for districts to work with educators, students, families, and school leaders to develop purposeful technology policies. It also makes an important developmental distinction that the proposed roadmap does not. The state separates grades 9 through 12 from middle school and describes technology use at the high school level as increasingly student managed with an emphasis on autonomy. Quote, high school students should be allowed increased autonomy to develop digital habits aligned with college and career readiness and independent adulthood. Technology should support active learning, organization, and management of responsibilities. Connecticut State Board of Education, 2026. Our roadmap groups grades 7 through 12 together, moves those students toward a CART model and moves toward limiting technology literacy to specific courses and moments in time. I think we need to carefully examine whether that is what the state is really asking districts to do. Before moving forward, I would ask the committee take the time to do that work. Create an independent subcommittee. Give that group a clear charge, review the state guidance, examine our local data, listen to stakeholders, and develop recommendations. Let that group bring a roadmap or policy back for public review rather than deciding the outcome first and then studying how to implement it. Strategic work takes time, but that does not mean change has to wait. We can begin the instructional shift that the board is asking for tomorrow without removing a single device. We have an Office of Teaching and Learning, instructional coaches, administrators, a professional development and evaluation committee, and classroom teachers with decades of collective expertise. Let them partner. Give them a year to deliver powerful professional learning around cognitively engaged classrooms, purposeful technology use, discussion, writing, collaboration, hands-on instruction, and responsible digital habits. Let our coaches work besides teachers to translate those expectations into classroom practice. Let administrators establish and enforce clear expectations when technology is misused or overused. All of this is possible through existing systems. Professional development can change teaching. Changing the device does not necessarily change the teaching. We can also strengthen the guardrails around technology we already own. We can be strategic about which platforms students can access and establish clear consequences for misuse. The cell phone ban was successful because expectations were clear and consequences swift. We can give teachers and administrators better tools to control inappropriate use without creating new financial and logistical problems involving carts, computer labs, textbooks, staffing, scheduling, and curriculum reconstruction. And I think we should listen carefully to what people told us this spring. Teachers, students, parents, and administrators did not come here asking for unlimited screen time. Again and again, people acknowledged the need for balance and responsible use. They asked us to preserve one-to-one access at the upper grades, maintain flexibility rather than impose rigid minute requirements, respect the changing needs of dynamic curricula, and include the people doing this work in developing the solution. This is not resistance to change. This is an invitation to partnership. So my request tonight is simple. Use this year to develop a collaborative and intentional plan. In the meantime, begin changing the culture of technology use through clear instructional expectations, professional development, coaching, filtering, and consistent enforcement. We do not need to create larger financial, institutional, or logistical problems to solve the one right in front of us. We already have the people, expertise, and tools to begin this work. So let's use them. Thank you.
Ms. McGillicuddy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Maggie McGillicuddy. I live at 675 Heron Drive. I'm an earth science teacher at Torrington High School, and I serve as the science department chairperson. I emphatically urge the board to be deliberate, thoughtful, and collaborative when planning for the purposeful use of technology in our schools, including ensuring one-to-one devices for high schoolers to maintain fairness and equity for our students. I agree with the goals of reducing unnecessary screen time, providing guidelines for educators, and giving students authentic opportunities to demonstrate their understanding. Imposing arbitrary time limits is premature at this time. The needs of our students vary greatly across science courses, including our many UConn ECE offerings. Students learn, process, and assimilate information at different rates across grade levels and content areas. There should not be a one time limit fits all rule for our dynamic curricula. I would like to thank Ms. Conway in particular for visiting THS classrooms in June to start to gather data about technology use and how much it varies between grade levels, courses, and individual students. I believe we need much more input from teachers, administrators, students, and families before we settle on screen time limits and before we remove one-to-one devices from high school students. I'm asking the board to move with care and to continue to gather data prior to adopting a final policy. I refer you to the Connecticut State Board of Education's position statement, recommending that local boards develop district-wide technology use policies that provide appropriate flexibility for instructional purposes and individual student needs only after evaluating our actual use of educational technology. Then together we can promote intentional, evidence-based, fair, and educationally responsive guidance for our educators that will best address the needs of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. That was quick.
I know, right? So unlike me.
Jason.
Good evening. Jason Lafreniere, special education teacher at Torrington Middle School. First, I wanted to mention reference to our first speaker. Windsor Public Schools is actually moving to its play-based tech integration this school year. So I think looking at what Windsor is doing for its K through 2 would definitely be a good thing for our board to look into. I appreciate the committee's willingness to have a serious conversation about how much technology we are using in our schools. I don't think anyone would argue that students need more opportunities for hands-on learning, face-to-face interaction, collaboration, and instruction that doesn't require a screen. My concern is how we determine what the appropriate amount of screen use actually is. Torrington is currently a one-to-one district, and we were forced into that very quickly due to COVID. We do not need to force ourselves out of it so quickly. Because we have the time. We're not in a situation where we're going 100% remote and we needed to get a computer in everyone's hands. We can reduce that in a very meaningful time frame and just looking for that to take place. I think we need to be able to clearly identify what problem with our current instructional technology model we are trying to solve, how much screen time students are actually receiving, what types of technology use we are trying to reduce, and what evidence supports the specific limits that are being proposed. I'm not opposed to reducing unnecessary or passive screen use. I'm concerned about using a single number to define whether technology is appropriate instruction. A student using technology to write, research, collaborate, access an accommodation, or engage in an interactive learning activity is having a very different experience from a student passively watching a video. I hope tonight's discussion is respectful and allows us to examine the proposal carefully before we move from the goal of purposeful technology use to specific numerical limits. I think we can find a way to reduce unnecessary screen use while still preserving the instructional benefits of technology when it is actually helping students learn. So my core message, I'm not opposed to reducing unnecessary screen use. I want the district to establish that the proposed numbers are evidence-based and appropriate for Torrington students before they become district-wide limits. And I do have questions about the pathway, which as we go through the discussion tonight, I'll bring up. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple of letters to read in. I'll read Veronica's first. Veronica Gelomino. Good evening. My name is Veronica Gelomino, and I reside at 37 Water Street in Torrington. I've been a teacher in Torrington for many years, entering my 22nd now, and am dedicated to Torrington students both in the classroom and on stage. In my 22 years teaching ELA, history, and now drama, I have seen the pros and cons of computer labs, the computer carts, and the one-to-one devices in my classroom. Sometimes in our effort to address one educational issue, we implement policies and practices to help our students, only to have to change the policy later because we didn't take the time to consider all the ways students are affected. During COVID, we had to make decisions quickly, but we don't have to rush now. We have the time to address technology use in our schools with a policy that is comprehensive, flexible, and addresses the needs of all our students. This proposed policy and timeline feels rushed and incomplete. While we all recognize the need to limit our students' screen time, I also would like us to recognize the importance of getting this policy right. Rushing through a policy this important is not necessary and could waste time, money, and have an unanticipated negative effect on student learning. I am suggesting that we slow down this implementation timeline and take time to find a more balanced solution to address our concerns of too much screen time for our students. I want to make sure we are not widening the digital divide that the one-to-one devices were able to address. As I started to dive into Torrington's socioeconomic data, I found that some facts were conflicting. I'm on vacation and doing research on my iPhone while driving through the Midwest, but I can get enough of the picture to recognize that we cannot determine how this policy will hinder students from lower socioeconomic households as a Title I school district that has to be thoroughly addressed. In both Sweden and Finland, countries that are now taking a firm no technology in the classroom stand, there is a much smaller economic or digital divide. Cities such as ours have to be careful when we look at what is working in other districts because their demographics are probably different than ours. We need to be responsible before we implement this policy and have time to take more factors into consideration so we make the best decision for our students. Our union conducted a survey of teachers. Data from that can be helpful, as well as surveys from students, current and former, as well as parents, and our technology department when crafting our technology use policy. We have to prepare our students for careers either with or without college, and there are a few careers that exist that don't require using computers. Managing a household, just plain living, requires knowledge and adaptability using technology. Our 7 to 12 needs to be able to navigate a technical world, so finding a balance between the use of technology and limiting technology is important. We need to take our time to find that balance, and this is in this current timetable and policy, as written, do not allow for that. I teach drama. I rarely use computers in my classroom, but lights, sound, set design, and house management, ticket sales, and media all require using a computer. The real world of theater is increasingly technological as well as artistic. The same can be said for athletics. I just toured the Louisville Slugger factory this morning. The amount of technology used to create a baseball bat is staggering. It isn't just technology, it's coupled with forest management, manufacturing, math, science, and artistry. But technology is necessary. I ask you, Policy Committee and Board of Ed members, to take the time to look at all the available information. Find the information that is still needed and work with your entire community before proceeding with a timeline and policy that is rushed and might not have the outcome you desire. Thank you, Veronica Gelomino. We have another letter, which I'll let Ms. Conway read because I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, this one is from Stacy Pollock. She submitted it yesterday. My name is Stacy Pollock, Plainville resident and TMS humanities coach. I'm writing to address several concerns I have with the Board of Ed technology roadmap. The first concern is the same one I voiced at the last policy meeting. According to the Board of Ed technology roadmap, quote, devices are to be used only for instructional purposes and are prohibited during free time, lunch, or recess for all students. As mentioned at the last meeting, students who are members of the Youth Entrepreneurs Club and TMS Times use their free time to participate in and contribute to these activities. Advisory and structured study at TMS are not instructional times. Will students be permitted to use devices during these times, or will I not be able to run Youth Entrepreneurs and TMS Times due to technology restrictions? My second concern is the idea of converting media centers to functioning computer labs. If this means the TMS Library Media Center, I am not sure how this is feasible. The librarian teaches 5 classes a day, and the extra space in the library is taken by tables for those students. The rest of the space is dedicated to space for books, as a library should be. Teachers are already sharing spaces within the school, so I asked the committee to rethink this idea. Lastly, I have questions about going to a CART model for grades 7 and 8 and prioritizing smart boards. I was under the impression that the policy was just a draft, but according to the roadmap, it appears that CARTs will be in place when school begins. Will every teacher be given a CART for their classroom? Who will be responsible for monitoring the computers and dealing with issues? If students are allowed to check computers out for a night, who will be in charge of organizing that? How does a teacher using a smart board help students learn 21st century skills? If there aren't answers to these questions, I hope that the committee will hold off on implementing CARTs and consider all steps that need to be in place for a successful rollout, which according to the roadmap should be May 2027 when the policy is voted on. Thank you for your time. Stacy Pollock.
Thank you. Before I move on, well, two things. We've discussed among ourselves, just to make some people in the room feel comfortable, that the September meeting will be used for a workshop, where I think we'll invite discussion as union leadership, administrators, and the Board of Ed members that want to show up. Hopefully they all show up to start the discussion on the roadmap. And there's some discussion about the roadmap, making some changes that maybe I miscommunicated that Kim's going to talk about in a minute, to address some of the things you brought up here. Just so give me a minute. But hopefully in September, if everybody can show up, we will, can you hear me or no? Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So hopefully September, we can all get together and discuss this. But I'm going to read so people understand exactly why I wanted to get here. And I've been talking about this for 5 years, 4.5 years, to be honest. And I bring it up and it was poo-pooed, not by anybody in particular here, just in general. Good evening. We are here, and I actually wrote this myself, just so you know. I can write once in a while. We're here tonight for one reason, that's to draw a line in the sand for the future of our children, all of us. Our community has entrusted us with graduating creative thinkers, hard workers, and independent minds. Excessive screens and unmanaged artificial intelligence threaten that promise. Decades ago, districts rushed into new math and whole language because they were the next best thing that came down the pike. We're still paying for those short-sighted experiments. And that was national, Republican and Democrat. Today, a national wave of excessive screen time and unmanaged AI threatens to undermine the mission of public education. As a board member myself, I don't want our students to become the human casualties, and I don't speak for the rest of the board, of the latest educational trend. When technology does the heavy lifting, we rob our students of the chance to build a real work ethic. True critical thinking is forged through struggle, focus, and intellectual stamina. By outsourcing writing, problem solving, and research to algorithms, we are teaching children shortcuts instead of skills. We risk graduating a generation dependent on screens rather than their brain power. Having a couple family members going to college just recently, they are incredibly dependent on screens, and their professors are telling them they need to get off their screens and start thinking. We must be clear. Our sole non-negotiable duty is to our students and their families. Our teachers are paid professionals hired to execute the mission, and I believe that we can include the teachers in trying to achieve this mission, starting next month, hopefully. I lost my spot here. I don't want to compromise our moral imperative to appease adults that don't want to sit at the table with us, and I know we now will, and make a very good effort to solve this problem as fast as we can for these kids, because I don't want kids to be leaving the school this year without the benefit of what the future children would have, taking them away from screens and learning what they should have been learning over the last 7 to 8 years. We respect our teachers as valued staff, but my absolute loyalty belongs to our students and their families. Technology must serve human growth, not replace it. So can we please begin our work to attain that truth? And I am sorry that I made people think that we weren't going to engage, but I think differently than most. But to get to this point fast enough to discuss this, and Jason and I have talked about trying to get a couple of times about this, and I've texted him a few times, we couldn't get here fast enough without trying to come up with a roadmap that actually reflects a number of different places around the country, including LA County, which took the first step to do this because of the impact it's had on the children over the last almost 20 years. And I see it in my younger children. So now that we're here and we can sit together, we can probably work out the kinks. But my mission is to make sure it gets done. And as we know, sometimes we agree to do things and they don't get done. And I brought up physical education a few times a couple of years ago, and that still hasn't been done. But I want to get it done. I feel it's imperative. And hopefully I now see that we all agree that we need to fix this problem. So I'll leave it at that. And thank you. And I get emotional about this. Next. Well, I think we haven't done anything else. So I was going to get to C and then just talk about moving it to September for a
So a
workshop.
motion, I will move to place this agenda item on the September agenda, taking it off this agenda.
Good idea. Second.
You got a second? You want someone
Oh,
to?
you're
No, I have, I had 4 school visits in June that I'd like to discuss. I have notes. Pictures. Of my school visits.
well, we can discuss that too, but we're talking about moving this. It's a
Moving the agenda item.
the discussion and the roadmap, the working group to September. We're not going to do,
Working group, yes.
Yeah.
Discussion, no.
that's fine. We're going to move the working group to September. We'll figure out how to make a motion in a minute. You're better at this, John, than I am. What kind of motion are we going to make for that? Go ahead.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? So you approved the agenda back at the beginning of the meeting, but you're looking to revise the agenda now to remove this policy discussion to another meeting when we as teachers have taken time out of our summer to come here to be here thinking that there was going to be discussion.
Well, what I did was, and what everybody here agreed to, was actually make it a working group so that we can discuss it all together and not spend all the time tonight going over something that we may already agree on, but we don't have the time to talk about it tonight. I think the working group, which is what you wanted, is the best way for us to hash this out. So I think that's the way we're going to go tonight. All right. You'll have more time to go through with Ms. Mangan. I think she agrees as a group, so we can all sit and chat and come to a satisfactory roadmap rather than talking about it amongst ourselves. But Kristen has more that I wasn't aware of, so go ahead. Actually, she wants to show pictures, I think, of her visit. Public use of facilities use fees. Can you just explain to the public what we're doing? Because I've had some questions on that.
So what's in front of you is some changes and clarifications on the facilities use form. You'll see the scratch outs and then you'll see the changes that are underneath there. Primarily, we started this process because of this complex where we have many more facilities to figure out how we're going to handle them and do things. So, and the other thing we did here was we cleared up some of the language in here that was a little bit confusing on certain things and changed a few things around. And at not the facility, I think the facility meeting, we kind of decided, they looked at the facilities committee looked at, what I was talking about as far as the additional stuff. And they made a suggestion to bring it here to take a look at the policy and just to take a look at what I put together so far and make adjustments or accept or what now, how it is. If we want to go through item by item, or how do you want to do this?
Any questions? I'm fine with what you have as long as the public knows. And some people want an explanation, which is what you're doing.
Yes.
I'm good
So
otherwise.
So any particular questions that anybody has on this? Yes, sir.
The only question is the concerns that were brought up in this from the football and the cheerleading and all that. How is this financially going to impact them based on what they said. I guess that would be the only,
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing that was being brought forward. So how would that affect?
So the plan was for you guys to take a look at this as is and understand there's going to be a few adjustments in there. So meaning, I haven't yet sat down with the athletic director, our new athletic director, and go over like what we want to name these fields. So there's going to be some adjustments in here, but nothing to do with, hard policy. It's more just clarification on it. And if this looks good, we can bring it to the budget committee, and the budget committee can then look at the fees and how it's set up in here and figure out, what, who should be charged, what should be charged for, and different things when it comes to those groups that you're talking about. So I'm not asking anybody now to talk about that, because you guys has mentioned to me, this does hit a lot of different committees. So this is kind of like my second step before it gets to the budget and then go to the full. If that explains it. Yeah, the wording is in there on how it is. So, but again, for them, so Kim just told me that the wording is in here, how it was. There's really no changes there, a few changes. But again, on who pays, we're gonna let the budget committee say, take a look at that, and then I'll bring to them some custodial fees and what we've paid so far and things of that nature, and then we'll kind of go from there. But the categories and the areas that we're looking to rent, I added a ton of them. I followed some other school districts on what they charge for. We may never use them, but pretty much every part of our facility is in this policy right now if somebody wants to rent them. With some exceptions, you'll see that, we'll have to supply specialists. And there will be one change in this already. I noticed, I was notified that TIS auditorium also has a soundboard. So we would require a, TPS specialist to run that soundboard, not somebody out in the public. So things like that might get a little bit adjusted, but I guess all in all, this is pretty much what it is. Yeah, so in here also is kind of like flexibility where, hey, they need it. If they don't need it, they don't have to. If they're not going to use it, then obviously we don't need to bring somebody in there. If they just want to use it for a gathering place or they think that the acoustics are fine without the soundboard. Same thing here. Our facility here, to use that stuff, you have to be a specialist. Nobody's going to be pushing buttons around here. You need to be a specialist to run this stuff. So we wanted to make it clear. Same thing with our kitchen that, we will offer our services at an additional fee if somebody wanted to come in. And I haven't seen this, but other districts have. So I figured let's put it in here in case it does come up. And that's that.
You brought up budget. We're not passing this to budget. We're going to go ahead and move it to the board, or you want to pass it to budget? We've been through this before, haven't we?
So we have, and that's why Dean is saying this is leg 2 of the journey, because the facilities committee had agreed in theory about the properties, and then obviously with a couple of corrections that need to be tweaked. The policy committee, while not much has changed in terms of the policy, and no, Dean answered Jason's questions. The reason it has to go to budget for the final piece is just for the fees that would be charged, if
That's what I
any.
thought.
Yeah, and then from the budget, it would go to full board.
Can I have a motion to move? Oh, I'm sorry, Jason.
Just looking at it from the previous, on page 16 of 32, I think that really helps to clarify better in the packet. Number 4, activities of nonprofit organizations, and above it, number 2. I think that really helps to identify those organizations that may have a reduced fee or no fee, which I think was a little unclear prior. So I think that helps me to answers my question, that I think it
Okay.
includes those organizations that were speaking publicly at the last time. So
Good. Yeah, thanks for recognizing that. And the other thing too that somebody might ask is we had wording in there that services 10% or more of the Torrington Public School students. So that was, I always had questions on it. Is it 10% of the whole school? Is it 10% of the program? So we clarified it to 80% of the program must be. So that was another clarifying, that I'll give a shout out to, Ms. Ferguson, who helped me put this together, came up with that, change it around a little bit.
So can I have a motion to move this to budget?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move it to budget. Number 2 on the agenda is dress code policy. One of the reasons this was brought up was because Ms. Conway did bring up dress code, and some teachers, some administrators, and some had said to me, it's difficult to enforce certain parts of our policy. And it's hard for them to look at somebody and try to determine whether or not the skirt's too long or the skirt's too short because their legs longer or shorter, or as Ms. Sterling brought up the last time, and I queried a number of people, it is difficult. So I'll let Ms. Conway give us her thoughts as to what she's thinking. I do agree we probably need to make a couple of changes, and then it will have to go to Board of Ed for approval, but for tonight, we can see what your thoughts are, then we can.
Okay. So thank you, Gary. Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because I do feel that this clearly targets our female population, and we do owe it to them to take a closer look at this. For those of you who probably didn't realize, my outfit was picked purposely tonight. I'm wearing ripped jeans and a top that reveals my shoulders on purpose. Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Good job.
Everything has been very strategic tonight, with the exception of my very fashionable boot. But anyway, I think the biggest things I have, obviously, this is a very targeted policy, as I've said, and it is quite sexist, to be honest. Not just saying this because I'm female or that I have 2 daughters, but it has been brought to my attention by staff members, students, parents, that it really just needs to be a little bit more equal. And when Gary was discussing why we're bringing this up tonight, he specifically brought up things that were directed towards females. And I think that shows why we need to take a look at this. We passed 2 dress codes in the past year. I applaud the teachers for being able to fight back on theirs. And I feel the students, they don't have a voice. So therefore, I'm going to be their voice. There's a couple very specific things in here that I think are inappropriate to have in here. The first is tank tops. I don't know, I'm probably dating myself here, but when I was in school, you were allowed to wear a tank top that had a 2-finger width strap. I definitely don't think that we need to, a lot of these things are inappropriate to wear at school: pajamas, sleepwear, obscene language, t-shirts, those types of things. I'm perfectly on board with the rest of those. And then also clothing that reveals the upper thigh or undergarments. I would like it just to say clothing must cover the entire buttock region, or whatever we might say. Upper thigh is very open to interpretation. And I'm sorry, but thighs are not a sexual part of a body, and therefore should not be sexualized in this policy. Those are my biggest issues. Open to comments.
As you know, I agree we should bring it forward. I don't know if we can define or make the changes tonight. I think maybe somebody needs to, if we're going to make those changes, draft something that addresses those. I don't think we can go through it quick tonight. Maybe September we can vote on it. You disagree?
I would, if the policy committee, I think, wants to make those modifications, I think we could make those modifications, have them approved by our attorney, and bring them to the full board. I think if they're just minor modifications, I think that is appropriate, and the policy committee can make that determination.
Jason?
2 meetings ago, I think it was 2 meetings ago, or whenever it was, I provided solutions and rewordings to a lot of these that takes out the sexualization, and it talks more about coverage rather than body parts. I can probably find it in my notes to bring that stuff back forward, but I took a lot of what we thought, or what I thought was sexualized or gender specific and reworded it. And I know that Ms. Conway, you had, I think we're kind of in agreement with what that had said. So I will look back through my notes to see if I still have that and provide it to you. I'll send it to Marissa and she can distribute it if you feel that that's appropriate, Mr. Euclid.
I
Maybe
do.
a help or a starting point.
And I don't know where the board's going to stand, but it does deserve an airing in my opinion. So I think that we can somehow, for the next meeting, get some legal opinion on some of the things that I guess you can take Jason's information maybe and yourselves, try to redraft a couple of the sentences in there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's up to the board,
I know.
what this committee would like to do. If you'd like to just bring it back to the next policy committee, like the way it is with Jason's suggestions, it can be looked at again, or we can,
We don't want to beat it to death, so.
so that's, it's up to you guys, whatever you'd like to do.
What's that? Right, so I make a motion that we consider whatever changes you're thinking of, and maybe you draft your thoughts. We give it to the attorney.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down the two things that you said. So if those are the two things, I think, you know, using some of the language that I think we've seen from the other suggestions, I think, you know, we can find language to be able to incorporate the piece about the tank tops and incorporate language about the revealing the upper thigh. I think we can modify those two components with something that the attorney, you know,
Yeah.
says is okay, and bring that forward to the full board for consideration. Or if the policy committee would prefer, we can bring it back to the next policy committee. So it's up to you guys.
Yeah, I've been kind of asked to pick my battles on this one, so I picked the two that I felt most passionately about. So I would like to make a motion to move it to the full board with those potential changes.
Okay.
Do we have a second? I'll second. Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Back to the roadmap. Before we get to your pictures, Kim, do you want to walk through some of the things we discussed
Sure.
that address some of the things that Ms. Mangan brought up?
So two of the things in the roadmap needed some clarity. One was, as Mr. Euclid mentioned, perhaps a miscommunication. Where the roadmap has indicated moving to a full CART model for grades 4 to 12, there really was an understanding that we wouldn't be able to do that for 7 to 12 starting in the fall. So it would really be more of a transition to move to that CART model, and it wouldn't necessarily be right away for September. The other piece was in the discussions about the piece about the evaluation and the goals. The intention of that language was really not meant to change anything from our current evaluation protocol. It was just meant to encourage a discussion during the goal setting process. So we looked at some language changes, something to the effect of administrators are encouraged to have a dialogue with educators during the goal setting process, which would include the proposed policy screen time limits. Nowhere in this document was it meant to imply that every teacher had to have a goal related to it. It was just that there should be a discussion around it. And if a goal was appropriate and mutually agreed upon, then that's what would occur. So in the roadmap, when we present it for the working meeting September 2nd, we'll have some modified language on that for that working group to look at and then determine if that's appropriate or not. So those are the two things I think that we already kind of talked about and cleaned up.
I agree. Anybody have questions on that? John or Kristen? Kristen, why don't you do or discuss or get your pictures up that you want to get up? And then we'll make a motion to move this to
Okay.
the working session.
So I do apologize. The summer got away from me. I had every intention of putting together a slideshow with my findings. It didn't happen. I'm sorry. Work, kids, everything. I wanted to say that I did take several hours out of about 2 weeks, the beginning of June, to go to one elementary, no, I'm sorry, 2 elementary schools, the middle school and the high school and middle school. I think all of the teachers that allowed me to observe in their classrooms, please understand what I saw, it's my observations, and I was physically there, so I can attest to that. I am not saying in any way that there might be some abuse of computer screen time, but I did not witness it. I actually saw some very purposeful learning, with computer screens. I'd like to specifically talk about a few observations that I made. I went to one classroom, I believe it was second grade, where 12 of the 17 students in the classroom were identified either as ELL 504 IEPs, which is an astronomical number for one teacher. But what I was able to see in this classroom was the use of the computers. And in this particular classroom, they had reading levels, or actually just learning levels in general of K through 5. In this second grade classroom. And the technology allowed that teacher to be able to teach at different levels. And what I saw was Lexia being used no more than 20 to 30 minutes per day, which our own OTL department mandates 20 minutes per day to be effective. It allowed the teachers to sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? To pull maybe 4 or 5, 6 students aside to be able to work with them when they might need extra help, while assigning assignments on the computer to the students who might not need the extra help for that 30 minutes. But it also allowed them to monitor what the students were doing during that 30 minutes in real time. If a student got an answer wrong, they were able to stop what they were doing, turn around and help that student. And I actually witnessed that, which was for one teacher in a room with 20 kids was amazing. I was able to see another classroom, I believe it's third grade, where the students were coding on computers. They were learning about safe websites. They were constructing paper airplanes using their computers, but constructing them with paper and then going outside to fly them, and then using their findings to put into the computer to find out, whatever velocity and speed and all that stuff it was actually very cool to see. The students built marble runs in this particular classroom, which I just thought was amazing. I did see another classroom where there were small groups for reading while others worked on Lexia. We have to remember this is one adult in a classroom of 15 to 25 students, and every student works at a different level. So the teachers were able to assign individual assignments while working in smaller groups. Again, both Lexia and Freckle need to be used 20 minutes per day to be effective. I saw another student using Kids Britannica sites. I'm sorry, another teacher using Kids Britannica sites. Also, their final project was a multimedia project in line with our benchmark program. This is just the elementary level that I have these notes. At the intermediate school level, I saw students, seeing what the Italian and Greek artifacts looked like now versus what they look like thousands of years ago, and being able to kind of put them on top of each other and see the difference and, what time has done to these things. I saw them making all of them on the floors in the hallways and classrooms doing these real life gladiator drawings and using their computers to get the specific, details of these uniforms. And it was amazing to see. At the high school level, I saw very little use of computers. And what I was seeing were things that we just don't have the ability to do, specifically in the science classrooms. They're able to do lab simulations on their computers where we don't have the ability to do that in our classrooms. I saw, I memean, and there was some English classes that I saw where they were using both paper and computers. And I'm not, please understand, I'm not saying there aren't some classes that might abuse the policy, because I definitely know that there are. But I saw none. I don't care that my visits were announced. I don't want to hear that from anybody, because what I saw was appropriate use of computers in classrooms. I definitely am on board with a policy, just not the current one. I do think that we need some major collaboration. And I definitely, while I would not like to see one-on-one devices for our K-6 students, I do think there is use for them in the classrooms. I would like to see, and again, this is probably for the next meeting, but I would like to see 7 and 8 separate from 9, 12. And I would, here, he's going to kill me on this one, I would like to see one-on-one devices for our 9 through 12 students. I have a lot more, and I apologize. I did not put together the slideshow that I anticipated. I will do my best to get it done for next meeting. Yeah. But again, didn't see any inappropriate use of computers.
Only to ask Kristen a question. When you say current, you mean the proposed
Yes.
policy?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion to move this discussion to September for a working group with union leadership, administration, some of the board members, so that we can start this process?
Would teachers be included in that as well?
Oh, well, it's up to, yeah, I'm not gonna run it, so I don't feel like I'm capable of running it.
I don't want to speak for Scott and
Yeah.
Kim, but we had chatted about it. We will pick a group of stakeholders that would have an active voice at that meeting. And I think it would be appropriate because it would impact them.
Can I have a motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's moved. I told you we'd get there, Jason. Topics for future meetings, anything?
Yeah, I just gave you guys way too much, so I'm good.
We will have to do the student activities that will have to be brought and graduation requirements.
Comments for good of the order? John, Bill, Kristen?
Thank you for listening to my passionate speeches on both B and C.
You're welcome. Have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?